Josh, if in any way was it different this time around with tour of duty in the sense of approach, things you guys did, the way you went about your business versus the last 5 years?
The biggest thing different this year is, when we go out to, day one tour of duty this year, you only have, of the entire roster, you have 51 guys who had participated before. So it's a lot of new, a lot of teaching and whatnot. And then, just with the way college football changes, your guys who have only been in the program 2 years are now viewed as older guys when that much of your roster is new. So seeing some of those guys who are maybe only going into their second year take on, more of a leadership role in that, being able to help, teach and coach those guys who it's day one coming out there. So that's where we see the biggest change. A lot of the fundamentals of tour duty, are the same and will always be the same, because that's one of the ways you can kind of compare year in, year out to, how one team did with it versus another team. And, with keeping it consistent on the coaching end of it, you kind of know the expectations, kind of the growth curve of it, and kind of when you start to expect seeing guys turn the corner with it and start to get it.
Jordan?
Coach, just for some of us that don't know, could you just take us behind the curtain of just what you guys do, both in the strength side, but also some of the conditioning work as well?
Yeah, so in the winter time when we come back, basically for those first 4 weeks up until signing day, tour duty, we just go on Friday afternoon. So coaches are on the road during the week. They'll come back off the road for recruiting time to meet with the guys prior to going out for tour duty. That'll be Friday afternoons. And then as we get into after signing day, tour duty then becomes Tuesday and Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Everybody out there together. And then kind of with that, what we do as far as on the weight room side of things and what we're doing with our speed work and our other conditioning is kind of paired up to marry up with tour duty. So we're getting the bulk of our change of direction and heavy conditioning done on those tour duty days. Some of the days when we're when it's a non-tour duty day, that's when we're working our linear speed work, our acceleration, some of our early tempo like base building conditioning and whatnot, and then pairing that up in the weight room with what's going on in there, what days to pair up well with what they're expected to be able to go out and perform in the mornings on the field.
Peter?
Josh, for the newcomers and the transfer portal players who may not even who are familiar with the term, the concept of tour duty, what is something that would you explain to them, or something that you would describe to them so they're familiar before they get into?
Yeah, so I mean, there's really no secrets. I mean, most of those guys, like even on their recruiting visit here, they hear about tour duty from the existing players. So they kind of have an idea of knowing what they're getting themselves into before they ever go out there. There's a lot of talk about it. It's a lot of things that are just passed down through the locker room from guys who've been through it and whatnot. And then we do a good job the week leading up to it. Like we'll have a separate team meeting where we literally go through tour duty. We literally watch film on it, so those guys can see what it looks like in action, so they kind of know what's expected of them when they get out there. And then when they get out there, it's leaning on those guys who've been through it to kind of lead some of those lines until those new guys who are going to be leaders, kind of get their feet under them a little bit, get an understanding of it. You start seeing those guys try to move more towards the front of those lines as they start to get comfortable with what's going on and what the expectation is. But it's kind of a deal where, like I said, because of the consistency year in, year out, that's very much like passed down, in the locker room, class to class, kind of generation to generation of like, this is what we do. And, every school does some version of mat drills or team conditioning or whatever. But it's the difference with tour duties, it's the standard that it's done to, the expectation of how it's executed, where every detail matters, every finish matters, and if it's not right, then we go back and we do it until we get it right. And so, those guys come into that without understanding, but then it's feeling the pressure of that, right? It's a little bit different if it's just myself and the strength staff out there. Yeah, we can create an environment, we can coach guys hard, we can put pressure on guys, but it's a little bit different when it's your position coach, your coordinator, the head coach, the guy that controls your playing time, the guy that recruited you to bring you here. You have a different level of connection and accountability in that setting. So we're trying to really, it's not just hard work for the sake of hard work. You're also trying to create an environment that feels like practice, that feels like game day, where there is an increased anxiety, increased pressure on you to go perform, not just for yourself, but for your teammates and then for the coach that brought you here as well.
Brendan?
The turquoise jerseys, I think fan base is really interested in like the criteria, how you go about getting those, and then just guys, I don't know if you want to share with guys who've gone ahead and gotten that honor.
Yeah, there's been a handful of those, and so what we do post tour duty, coaches will sit down and grade tour duty film just like you would grade game film. So there's a scoring system to it based upon, did you have to go back on a rep? Did you finish your rep? Who did you lead? Who did you make better? So basically, to achieve a turquoise jersey, you basically have to score a perfect 10 out of 10 on your day of tour duty.
Sure.
One guy I think I saw in the video who had the turquoise jersey is Darrell Jackson. I know he has always looked the part, has always been the first off the bus guy. We've heard a lot this offseason about just how impressive he's been. I guess, what have you seen different from him maybe to the last few years here?
Yeah, I mean, It's not so much different than the last few years. It's a different level of ownership going into this year. I mean, he came back here with a specific purpose of where he wants to go next year, and came back with knowing what it's going to take to not just, hey, I'm going to just come back and do another year and see what happens. That's a guy that came back on a mission to improve himself, to put himself where he believes he can be, where we believe he can be next year when the draft comes around. And so what you see out of Darrell, he's always been a hard worker, right? But you see more now of him pouring into other guys, him becoming more of a vocal leader than what he's been in the past. And then obviously, the physical things for Darrell speak for themselves and what that guy is capable of, whether it be in the weight room, on the field, and his movement skills, all those things. But what you're seeing now is a guy who's more so putting more of the ownership of leadership and that upon his shoulders in those settings. And those are the things it takes to be a guy that's in a turquoise jersey. You have to be a guy who isn't just doing a great job yourself. It might help make you better. It might help making him better. It might being a leader. That's kind of the final step it takes to be able to get that. Because you can have a perfect day work-wise, but if you didn't do those things, then you're not quite that turquoise jersey guy yet.
Chris?
Of the newcomer bunch, were there any guys or a guy who stood out pretty consistently with how they went about tour duty?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very exciting young group from the early enrollee high school guys to the guys that transferred in. An absolute tremendous group of kids that we brought in from, like I said, there's some young, super exciting guys with, guys like, Shamar, guys like Max Redmond, some of those guys coming in, conduct the way they conduct themselves, what they're capable of physically, kind of the energy and edge those guys bring, to your veteran guys you brought in, and the Adrian Medleys, the Micah Pettises, Tommy, those guys, like, with the veteran leadership and college football resumes, coming in, building those relationships with their teammates, and then, coming in from how they, not just how they carry themselves, but the work they put in, of backing up the reason why, that they came here, the reason they were brought here in the first place.
Aslan?
Josh, how would you describe, I guess, your initial impression of Tommy and then the way he kind of carries himself around the team of these seven?
I mean, that guy's been phenomenal. I mean, from the time, recruiting visit to committing to immediately, post that, the help of, communicating with other guys. He's a guy, when he got here his first few weeks, had a goal of, like, I want to spend, be able to spend one-on-one time, whether it be in the building, out of the building, with every single guy on the roster. So coming in, the way he went about building relationships, great personality, huge energy with that guy, and that's infectious. Guys are drawn to that. Guys feed off that, and so I think what he's done has really been a masterclass in how you come in as a new guy somewhere and ingratiate yourself to your teammates, and then help share to make those guys better, and slowly building that to where, like, putting yourself in a position to go be that leader, and being able to do that because of the relationships you've built leading up to when those points come.
Jordan?
Coach, you mentioned working with the coaching staff. Obviously, it's a new group this year. Just what have you seen leadership-wise, but also working with some of the new guys on the staff, like Coach White, Coach Malzahn?
No, it's a great group of guys. Who brought in. Just seeing them come in, it's tough. As a position coach or coordinator, you come to a new program. Well, you're getting there in December. You hit, January. You hit the road recruiting right away. So you're trying to balance out going to recruit the next incoming class while trying to get to know and build relationships with your current roster that's here now. And so trying to see those guys walk that line of doing both those things, and then since post signing day, coming back off the road, the amount of time that they pour into those guys, the amount of time they've spent with those guys, and then just with the interactions we've had, like, I'm very, very excited about this group that's come in, and then just feedback from the players that they're coaching. How's it working with so and so? How is it learning the new system? Those type of things. Like, and you get the a ton of feedback from those guys and how they see it and how they view it. And, like, I really, really feel good about where we're sitting at right now, where we're at in that process.
Aslan?
Coach, I know, like, strength and conditioning, there's a lot of meat and potatoes, lifts, mobility work, things like that. And has there been anything new that you guys are trying to implement to address anything that you guys want to see different this year out of the guys?
I mean, the kind of big thing is, I mean, every year it's you can never be the same year in year out, because your team's not the same year in year out. Do you have an older veteran team? Do you have a younger team? Do you see, is there deficiencies that you see that you need to address? And so you always go into it with that evaluation process. As you go into the wintertime, it's still a pretty general time of year training. Football's still a long ways away. So kind of football is the spring program is kind of that time of year with football where I always view it as, like, we're most general. This is the time of year. This is bigger, faster, stronger. Those are the priorities this time of year. And as we transition through spring ball, through the summer, as we start getting closer and closer to camp, it starts becoming a little more specific to position, a little more specific to body type, a little more specific to what the actual game and tempo of practice is going to demand. So, but when you come back, this time of year, the wintertime, got to get strong, got to be powerful, got to start developing the base level of all our acceleration, all of our speed work, so we can transition that into the summertime.
Bob?
Curious about the football-only facility and what that's going to be able to give you as far as cold tubs, different therapies, recovery, sleeping pods. Like, how much input did you have on just various aspects of it, and what does it allow you to do? Maybe it's different from what you're able to do now in prior falls.
Yeah, so as the new facility opens, the existing staff here had a very big hand, like in the individual areas. So whether through sports medicine, through nutrition, through us, through video, through equipment, had the ability to being here for the whole process to put a lot of fingerprints on how you wanted it, how the layout needs to be. Going through blueprints, but our space would be more efficient if whatever these offices were upstairs as opposed to here, or whatever it might be. So what each department gets in a facility that's going to be set up very efficient to be able to operate in the way that you like to operate. Just simply for us, with the weight room being connected to the back of the indoor, be able to have very simple transition time from the weight room out into the field as opposed to going back and forth like we do now, provides us a little bit of flexibility to implement some things in training that weren't able to be done as efficiently as we'd like to in the past. So now you're saving time, so you can get more stuff done. Even just some of the guys, locker room being that close to the playing surface as well, you're cutting down on a lot of the back and forth, a lot of transition. So I think one of the biggest things we're gaining with the building is just efficiency in how we operate. And then, it's just expanded capabilities. Like, you talk about, cold tubs, like those are all things that existed here for a long time. What you're gonna see now is those same things on a grander scale, to where now you can accommodate more guys, you can accommodate the efficiency of it, to where, if I come down, the cold tub's got a ton of guys, I'm like, oh, I'll come back later. Well, now, like, if you see how that's set up now, you couldn't fill those up, So there's gonna be a lot of things like that, even simply with the meeting room space being connected to the walkthrough space. So you can take guys from a classroom setting like this, walk out that door and be able to walk through the full-size video by taking just a couple steps. And you can transition easily back into the classroom. So now if you have guys who are classroom learners, you have opportunity to be a visual classroom learner. If you're a guy that needs to learn by going out and going through the motions and seeing and doing it, you can do that by taking 2 steps out of your door. So just the efficiency, and then obviously goes and said just with the recruiting and with the having a facility on the level of what this brand and what this program is, all that stuff comes together really well at a great time for us.
We'll do a couple more, Chris.
Did you break a rock this morning? If so, who got the honor and why?
No, we don't have a break with this time of year.
Okay.
The first rock of the year we break will be after camp.
Aslan?
Josh, I think you've been with Coach Norvell for almost like a decade now, but I don't know, he's never come off of a season like he has this past year. What have you kind of seen from him and his response and how he's guiding the guys right now?
Yeah, I mean, we've actually been together more than a decade now, since 2012. You come off a year like last year, and you have to evaluate. But a lot of it is it's easy for people to go through adversity, whether it be a bad season, whether it be something in your life, whether it be something that goes wrong at work, whatever that may be, and to completely second guess who you are and what your process is and does it work. But like, the biggest thing gotta be when you go through adversity, though, you do have to have confidence in who you are, what you do. And then what you gotta do is go back through and find, like, where are the areas where we can improve within these things? Is there a hole that maybe I wasn't aware of until now? And so the biggest thing is the evaluation of that, but the most important thing is being confident in who you are and what you are, and know what you do works.
Anything else? Okay, thanks, Josh.
Good.